What a wonderful turnout. Thank you all for coming today. I appreciate that. Today's program with Rod is in cooperation with the Sierra Theater. We are going to do the Hollywood version of Bonnie and Clyde on Wednesday and Thursday this week. You're going to listen to Rod do the true vision. And that's what we're going to do, but the film that we're showing you is a 1967 movie. It still was nominated for 10 Academy Awards in 1967 and won a number of them, including Best Supporting Actress for Estelle Parsons, who plays Blanche, which Rod will talk about. Now, there's a lot of difference between Hollywood and the truth. But still, I'd like you to show up and help us, because it took some doing to try to get that movie from Warner Brothers. It's awfully hard to get the studios to cooperate, to get films to the Midwest, and to get films to a theater that only has one screen. We are one of only 5 theaters in the state of Iowa that only have one screen. Most of them have 8, 10, 12, or 20, so it's a real challenge to get movies. But please come. We're showing it for the 2 nights, 7 o'clock. Like I say, it's been chosen by the Library of Congress out of the top 100 films. It was listed as number 27. Tuesday and Wednesday night, without further ado, the gentleman who knows about Bonnie and Clyde, originally from Dexter, Iowa, retired school teacher. It's all yours.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk about two outlaws. and keep that in mind when I'm talking about it, because sometimes I have audiences that accuse me of glorifying Bonnie and Clyde. And they say, why? They come up afterwards and say, why are you glorifying those outlaws? And I said, everyone has their history. And it seems to me, from being part of the Dexter Museum, and I would invite anybody in the room that wants to make a day trip down to Dexter on a Sunday afternoon. The museum's open from 1 to 3, or you can call me up. You can find my information online just about anywhere and call me up, and I can set up and go down and give you a personal tour of the Dexter Museum and the Bonnie and Clyde thing. But you know, the majority of the people that come to the Dexter Museum, guess who they want to see? Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde are outlaws. They killed 13 people. 9 of them were lawmen. You'd call them cold-blooded killers, but I think, you know, Clyde probably killed because he was going to be killed. He was in that situation. I have never read anywhere where Clyde Barrow went out and well, I take that back. There was one instance that I can tell you about where he actually did something like that, but didn't actually kill the person that he was going after. So they were thugs, they were outlaws, but they loved coming to Iowa. You know why they like coming to Iowa? What?
Where the money was.
Nobody knew.
There you go. Whoever said nobody knew who they were, that's the reason why they came. They came to Dexter, and I'll be talking about that, and they spent 5 days coming in from an amusement park, coming in and out to Dexter, Iowa, parking their car on the backside of the library and going to stores. Bonnie didn't, Clyde did, and nobody in Dexter knew who they were, except for the fact that they had money. It wasn't his money. It wasn't his money, but he had money, and he was going to all these stores, and he was running up a pretty good tab in 4 or 5 stores in Dexter, and it was during the Depression. And if you're a storekeeper, oh, this guy's a stranger in town. I don't like his money. Guess again. This is Depression. How many people paid with cash back in that day? Not many. So, you know, they like coming to Iowa. And a lot of people tell me it's because Iowa's nice people, and we are nice people, but that wasn't the reason. I mean, they made numerous trips. Even after they were almost killed at Dexfield Park, they were back here the next year and robbed the bank in Stewart. So, I mean, it's like the people in Stewart didn't know who they were either. So, but anyway, but this story I'm going to tell you today is about the Dexfield Park shootout. Mike pretty much told my background. I was a retired school teacher, taught for 35 years, taught history, middle school history mostly, from Dexter. I'll tell you how much we talked about the barrels when I was growing up in the 50s and 60s. None. I never heard anybody ever talk about the barrels. So all this stuff that I researched about Dexter and so on happened after I retired from teaching. And I was working in Perry at the Forest Park. And I started doing programs out of Forest Park. So the only thing I ever heard about the barrel gangs when I was in Dexter, I was in the Boy Scout troop. And we would go out to this site. We'd go out to the Dexfield Park site, and we'd be hiking through there. And our leaders, Russ Horn and Dick Adkins, would turn around and they'd say, "Boys, this is where the barrel was shot out with the local posse in 1933. And this was like 1960. You know how big of an impression? 1933? That's ancient history. What are you talking about? And then we'd kick around in the dirt. They said, because there's a big gun battle out here. So we kicked around in the dirt, looked for spent cartridges and things like that. I'll just tell you this, those were long gone. The day of the shootout, they were long gone because the people in Dexter went out there and did it. But anyway, this shootout at Dexfield Park on July 24th, 1933, biggest shootout in Dallas County history. I can't find any, and I've lived in Dallas County, Guthrie County, can't find any other shootouts. Except in Adel, there was a bank robbery in 1895. There were a lot of bullets flying that day, but there were a lot of bullets flying that day out there north of Dexter. Moving on up. Of course, the members of the gang, here's the main two, were Bonnie and Clyde. This picture on the left, that was Bonnie said that was her favorite picture. They took that picture about 3 weeks before they got killed at Gippsland. And she told her mother that that was her favorite one, of her being held up by Clyde. They were 22 and 23 years old. I think the popularity, a lot of the reason why people are interested in Bonnie and Clyde and why we have so many people come to Dexter is that they were young. They were young. Plus they were male and female. You didn't see very many male and female outlaws at that time. And I think that has something to do with it. But young, together, they met at a friend's house in 1932. Clyde came to this party where Bonnie was at. Clyde saw Bonnie. Bonnie saw Clyde, and there was instant karma there. And so eventually they got together. Clyde got thrown in the clink, doing something. He and his brother Buck, I'm going to talk about Buck too, but they were in trouble the day they were born. They were in Dallas, Texas. I mean, they were either stealing chickens or breaking in someplace. They were always in trouble. Bonnie, on the other hand, Bonnie was a straight A student. You're talking about poetry. She was a poetrist. She liked writing. She wrote a lot of things. A lot of things that people got after she got killed in Gippsland, 34. But she was a good student. She was a good student. Quit school, became a waitress, got married when she was 16 years old to a fellow by the name of Roy Thornton. I often say Bonnie didn't have very good luck with men at all, because within 6 months, Roy was in prison. Roy was in prison, but she must have liked Roy a lot, because on her right thigh above her knee, she got a tattoo. How risque is that? Back in the 30s. You didn't see that happen, but it said Roy and Bonnie forever. If forever was 6 months. But anyway, she never divorced him. When she met Clyde Barrow, she was still married to Roy Thornton. When she got killed in Gibson, Louisiana, she still had the ring on. But it wasn't Clyde's ring. It was Roy Thornton's ring. She was still wearing. But anyway, they met at this party. He got thrown in the clink, Clyde did. Bonnie went into this jail, had a gun around her waist, under her dress, got in, gave the gun to Clyde. They broke out. And away he went. He got caught, got sent to the state pen. And it was in the state pen where Clyde killed his first man. There was some guy that supposedly was abusing him. Clyde got tired of it, made a knife, got him in the bathroom, stabbed the man to death. Another guy took the rap though. Another lifer took the rap. Bonnie and Clyde's mother kept petitioning, writing to the governor, let my son out, let my friend out. He'll never commit another crime if you let him out. The governor let him out, and the rest is history. 32 is when Bonnie and Clyde hooked up. How long they lasted? 2 years. All this stuff and all these books and all these things written about them 2 years before they got killed in Gibson, Louisiana in May of 1934. Lots of people are interested in Bonnie and Clyde. That's what I'm saying. Lots of people are interested. But those were the two main characters of the game. Go ahead, Mike. That picture over there, Bonnie said about that picture, I was just funning with Clyde, with a shotgun sticking in his belt. That's Clyde and his sister. They were very close. Go ahead, Mike, next one. They were family people. That's his brother Buck, Marvin Buck Barrow. That's Blanche Barrow. I don't know how much you know about Blanche, but Blanche was a preacher's daughter. Blanche thought she could make the good boy, the bad boy good. You know how many times I heard that and watched that in school when I was a teacher? for the good girl, bad boy, you know it's not going to work. But teach their own. But anyway, Buck got married to Blanche. Blanche tried to, in fact, Blanche had him on the road, down the road, to doing good things. And Clyde showed up one day and said, "You're working when we can make dough? Easy?" And so he and Blanche joined Bonnie and Clyde. Now all these pictures that I'm showing you, not those two, those are mug shots. But the majority of these pictures, guess who took them? They did. They were probably the first ones to take selfies. Outlaws that took selfies of themselves. Because the majority of the pictures, they took themselves. How did we end up with them? Because every time they were roused out of a place where they had to leave in a hurry, they left their cameras many times. And they left the film. And so the police, they developed that stuff, and here we go. We have all these pictures of Bonnie and Clyde. And that's the pictures that we have today, of Bonnie and Clyde. But that's Buck and Blanche, and they were part of this gang that ended up north of town, the Dexter next one, right? This is the youngest of the group. How old do you think he is? 18. You're close. He's 17. 17 years old. His name was William Daniel Jones. He was a friend of the Barrow gang, of the Barrow family. He was with Clyde when Clyde shot a person. According to WD, he had some great stories after he left the gang. And I don't have time to go into all those, but he had some great stories about it was all Clyde's fault. I had nothing to do with this. It wasn't me. It wasn't me that did these things. And he, according to him, when Clyde shot this guy, WD said, "I'm done. I'm leaving." And Clyde said, "Well, you're going to be accessory." "Well, I think I'll stay." So that's W.D. Jones. And those are the 5 people that were in that gang at the time that the Dexfield Park shootout occurred. Give me another mic. W.D. and Clyde. Go ahead, Mike. Okay, this whole thing starts down in a place called Platte City, Missouri. You ever heard of Platte City? Yeah. Okay, it's right outside of Kansas City. This was the motor lodge that Bonnie and Clyde were staying in. They were staying in the one on the right, and they were pulled up there, and they put newspapers over the windows, and they were buying food in the area, and so on and so on. And the manager got a little suspicious, so he called the cops. And they were thinking it might be the Barrows because there had been reports of the Barrows. And so the police went there along with the Kansas City policemen and local people. And they knocked on the door. They knocked on the door. I don't know which one came to the door and said, "You've got to wait till we get dressed." And the next thing, the windows were being busted out and there was a lot of shooting and going on. Clyde went from where they were at to the garage because he had his car there. Opened the garage door. And he was going to pull around in front and let the other people get in, his brother, his wife, and W.D. Jones and Bonnie. But when he pulled the car out, they had parked an armored car. An armored car in front of that door. So here we go. He's stuck. All right? Except he has his weapon with him. And the guy with the armored vehicle, hadn't shut the door. So Clyde opens up on him with a Browning automatic rifle. And I'll talk more about the Browning here, where they got those. And he shot the guy in the legs. And the guy thought he was going to get killed and he moved the car. So he gets the car out, comes out, they're coming out to get in the car. Buck, his brother, gets shot. And when they come to Dexter, they're treating this wound. He got shot right here. If it had been right here, he'd been a dead man. He got shot here, and it took off 3 inches of his skull. You could see his brain, according to the doctors that treated him later. You could see his brain tissue. That's what they were dealing with. Didn't kill him though. They got into the car. They were leaving. Police were shooting at him. Shot a window out. Blanche, his wife, took a big chunk of glass in her eye. Big chunk of glass. They were treating that. Bonnie did get shot, but like a month earlier, they were down in Texas or Oklahoma, I can't remember which. And you always hear about how great the driver Clyde Burrell was. And I don't know how much you guys know about Bonnie and Clyde, but you know, Clyde Burrell could drive a car. Man, could he drive a car, and he could get away from people. He could maneuver it, and he could speed, and he could get more power out of a car than probably you're supposed to. He was a very good driver, but evidently that day in Texas or Oklahoma, he missed the bridge closed sign. And he drove off this bridge, and the car caught on fire, and it burned Bonnie from her ankle to her